Happy Monday.
Happy Monday on the first day of school in Brevard County.
Right. I love seeing all the pictures though. I mean, that is like one of my favorite days on social is just all the pictures of kids going to school. And I mean, we started at the end of July, but not really. So it was a little weird, and I don't really have a lot of friends up here, so I'm not.
So you're living vicariously through us?
Absolutely, always. I love seeing all the pictures.
I should have made Gavin put his mask on when I took the picture in front of the goose, because
memories.
So we'd remember that it was 2020.
Are we ever going to forget?
No, we're not. And it's funny. So he's going back to school, but we're carpooling because I don't want him to be on the bus. But if people chose the bus, that's great for them. And then I had this panic moment after he left the house. Did he forget his mask? Did he forget, anything? So I texted the mom that was driving. He had his mask. She's like, but he should probably have some hand sanitizer in his backpack. I was like, oh yeah, probably. But all the friends of mine that are doing e-learning are all like in a mad scramble this morning. And it's like, you know what? I think everybody's going to roll with it. I think the school is going to roll with it. If you don't have your logins, you'll be good. And that's
we're doing the e-learning. So we have picture day. So we have the virtual, hybrid, and traditional. We are doing the virtual. Parents still don't have the Google Classroom login. So I'm just praying that she's getting everything done that she's supposed to, or I'm praying that somebody will call me if not.
That's always my approach, quite frankly, to school and parenting. Like I put it on them, and I hope that they do their best. So
yeah, and I know since even elementary, like when my daughter had a problem, I always I'm here for your backup, but you need to, just because you don't like a teacher, we don't always like everybody we work with or anything like that. You need to problem solve. And definitely once, junior high hit, they were all on IEPs and stuff. I made sure that they were always in the meetings with me once they could articulate and understand what's going on.
Right.
Thought that was important than me going behind. I want the teachers, let's just be completely transparent because they need to hear this stuff. And it doesn't need to be me telling them what the teacher said.
The teacher said. Yeah.
I want it to be all, and then same with high school. If there's issues, do you have your volume off? On whatever you're playing?
No, I have my volume off.
Because I hear an echo.
You know what? My door is open because my air conditioning is broken and it's 80 degrees in here. So maybe it's from that, but I have my volume off on my other screen. Yes.
Okay. Well, I hear the echo now. So
okay. So anyway, you said something interesting that'll lead us right into today's topic, which was you said, because we don't always get along with everybody. So today's topic is 6 ways to build client loyalty. And this is not on the list, but I'll start with this. Sometimes you may not want client loyalty from the person that was a nightmare client. So we don't always apply these things.
Well, I think you want the loyalty during the transaction, but they may not go on that list of people you're going to constantly be
reaching out to, doing the touches, the whole thing. Yeah, because if they were, if it was a difficult transaction and it was due to maybe a personality conflict or whatever it is, you probably don't want to keep trying to work with that person. So
the first that when you're adding those lists, the people, the A, B, C, however you want to do it. We talked a lot about this as we entered into the COVID period when people weren't sure what to be doing with their time and we were just really pounding away. But this isn't something that is for a pandemic. I mean, this is something you should be busy or not. This is something that needs to be in your business plan and in your weekly, daily routine.
Yeah. And I think that we found that anybody who always has done this and was still doing it, they're getting the clients reaching out to them now, whether they're watching and seeing, oh my gosh, the market is so good. Should I sell? They're getting that repeat repeat clientele, which I think is super important. I mean, the majority of everybody's leads, and they're not really leads, but clients come from repeat and referral. So, and you know, as an industry, we're always talking about other things rather than repeat and referral. We're talking about, you know, should I pay for pay-per-clicks? Should I pay for, I hate to say Zillow, should I pay for whatever? But the majority of your business is going to come from repeat and referral. So make sure
you're keeping in touch.
Make sure you're keeping in touch. So the first thing is to teach and guide your clients. So, and I think this is super, super important. You want to be an educator. You want to be showing them that you go above and beyond their expectations, but you're always teaching them along the way, as the transaction, what's next. You know, I had a buyer last week who's like, can you ask the seller for the wind mitigation report? We need to get insurance quotes. And we were like day 2 in the contract, right? And I said, so, well, we're having this was on Monday. We were having the inspection on Wednesday. I said, we're having the inspection on Wednesday. You're going to get your wind mitigation report. Then we're going to reach out and get insurance quotes. And then I took that opportunity to kind of reiterate, this is going to be their 4th house with me. So they've been through it before, but, you know, maybe forgot or whatever. I took that point to reiterate, then we'll order the appraisal if you're happy with the inspection. Then we're going to do that, you know, and so that I'm always educating them to keep them on track and so that they know what's coming. Or after the transaction, you're educating them on what's going on in the market, you know?
I mean, it's a constant, whether you're doing a blog, whether you're doing social posts, you could have a real estate tip of the week, a DIY tip of the week. There's so many different things that you could be doing. I mean, we all get asked the same similar questions nonstop. So, you know, for me, I just put things like in notes on my phone or on Google Drive, just ideas like, oh, I mean, and I do the same thing when it comes to classes. What are people asking the most? Why not do a video? Not only if you have a website where you can blog, by having that and getting those questions from somebody, it's helping you because you can just direct them to that blog that may have a video. It may have, you know, just the 6 pointers. It could. So that's after the fact. Yep. Whether you're sending newsletters, social, just, I think those are like items of value, and you're getting the same questions all the time. So it's, you know,
it's true.
After the fact.
It's true. So the next is to make sure you visit after closing. And, you know, it's funny. I think back to when I bought my second house, which was in Connecticut. She didn't come to the closing, the agent. It was just us and the attorney. In Connecticut, everybody had an attorney. So the sellers signed with their attorney. We signed with our attorney. There were no agents there. And I thought, it was my second house, so I kind of knew how things go a little bit. And I was like, oh, that's weird. She didn't come to the thing. And a week later, she knocked on my front door and she had the gift. Here, I just wanted to drop this by, make sure you've settled in, blah, 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 blah. That's not how I do it, but I do try and drop by after the fact. But I do bring my gift to closing. But I thought that was an interesting approach. And then subsequently, when I decided to get into real estate, she is who I called. And I said, hey, I've been thinking about this for years. I'm really thinking about this. What do you think? And she was like, oh, yeah, you have to come to my brokerage, come meet my broker, blah, 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 blah. And it went from there. But so then she and I continue to keep in touch. But you need to make sure you're keeping touch and you actually visit after closing. Just want to make sure you're settled in, especially if they're from out of state. That's the one thing that I always say to my people. I've lived here most of my life. I know a lot of contacts, a lot of referrals, a lot of things. So if you need, whether it's even just a dentist or the eye guy or a handyman or the air conditioning guy, I want them to keep coming back to me over and over so that they know, so that we're it's still in each other's lives in that way. You know, they look at me as their resource.
And that's huge. I think that's super important. So when I bought up here in Tennessee, same thing. I don't know who anybody is. I mean, luckily I found some groups, but it was actually, we had stuff done after the closing. And that was, you know, not one of my agent's contact. That was the listing agent's contact. But they communicated with me and she's like, I am your resource. If you need anything, we know who anybody is. And I mean, it's been over a year. Like now I'm looking to have pavers done and, you know, concrete put down. And So she's like still my go-to a year later. It's not my agent. It would have been even better if it was my agent, but
But she's not keeping in touch, or the agent isn't keeping in touch. So
no. The only time I did text her when it came time for like homesteading, because I know like that's one time that we're always telling the agents like reach out to these people. Like you don't know. Well, apparently that's not a thing in Tennessee unless you're like poverty level or something.
Oh.
So I didn't know, but I'm like freaking out because I can't find anything online. And I'm like, I have this deadline. What do I do? But yeah, I guess it's not a thing here in Tennessee. But yeah, so that was the only time I reached out. And then when she switched brokerages, she sent me a magnet. But be that resource, especially for those coming from out of town, because I think we take it for granted.
Yep.
We know everything. We've been here. But somebody from out of town doesn't. And
yeah, I totally agree. And you have to always remember they have other options. And especially if they're from out of town, now they're meeting people. Their kids are in school if they have kids, or they're going to work, and they're meeting other agents, because there's, in Brevard County, there's 4,300 of us. That's a lot of agents. So chances are they're meeting someone else. That's the other reason to keep in touch. You want you to be top of mind with them all of the time. I'm trying now. I can't remember who. Somebody. Oh, I know who, and I won't say. But I have a client who I sold them two houses. Sold one of their houses. Sold both of their children houses, and they have subsequently become really good friends with another agent here at our office, actually. And she said to me, I'm really good friends with this other agent who's an awesome agent as well, but you are my person because you've been my person from the beginning, but that can happen when they become.
Yeah. If you're not constantly following up, it's almost like, well, they become friends with another agent, and then it only makes sense to be loyal to that, whoever that person may be. And I think you could also use social when somebody, your past client, and they're refurbishing or redoing something and they're posting pictures on social. What a perfect opportunity to send that private message. Oh my gosh, I love what you've done with that kitchen. I'd love to stop by and have coffee. Well, and I don't know if that's even a thing now with, with what's going on in the world, but
I think it depends on the person.
That's a perfect opportunity to reach out, send a private message. Make sure that you're commenting on that as they're like, oh my gosh, that looks great. I'd love to see what you've done with the house. Send them a private message. Hey, I'd love to stop by and have coffee and see what you've done. It looks fantastic. It's just that top of mind and staying in connection, building that loyalty.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And so then, and you need to also, we talk a lot about asking for the referral, ask for the referral, but you also need to show them that you're there for them without anything attached, without asking for something. So you don't always ask for the referral, honestly, because they know what you do and they know that's how you work. So I would probably ask for the referral every 3 to 4 times, honestly, not every single time, but make sure you're reaching out and you're letting them know that you're there for them. Handwritten notes. I mean, we're so far from that these days. Nobody does it anymore.
Crazy, because who doesn't love, I think now more than ever, we love getting that handwritten note. I've been getting them from other agents, it's such a nice distraction.
So this has nothing to do with a client, but this does have to do with another agent. I was doing a deal with an agent. She brought this to the office for me with a handwritten note. We had never, I didn't even know who she was. We had never done a deal together. And oddly enough, or sadly enough, my buyers canceled after the home inspection. So I texted her and I said, do I have to give the candle back? But
that is such a nice touch. And I can say it's like you're going into that transaction with those good vibes and I've never heard of that before on an agent to agent level, but that's taken it up a notch. And that really, I think, in this crazy market right now, that's nice.
Right. So how can you take that to your clients. And so I used to, and now I have to think of a different way, but when my kids were still doing Boy Scouts and we sold the popcorn, I would buy popcorn and I would stop by people's houses and deliver the popcorn and just say, I'm here to, I'm here to support my son who's a Boy Scout and help him raise money for whatever they were doing at the time, and popping by to see you. And then the other thing that we did was they used to sell Christmas wreaths. So I would buy. I know. I'll have to get there's last year, actually, I bought them from one of the kids, the first kid that reached out to me, who knew I used to buy a lot. And he reached out to me early and said, well, can I be your Christmas wreath kid? And I was like, yeah. And then other people subsequently, weeks later, and I said, sorry, I already locked down with someone else. But I would take the Christmas tree wreaths and drop them off at that time. I would do it everybody who had bought the year prior. So whatever reason you can to remember to reach out to them, to provide stuff to them without asking for something in return. And here's a good one: go for a guided tour. Visit them and take the guided tour of all the improvements that they've made on their home. So since you helped them in the purchase of the home, you knew what the house looked like. And if they've made a lot of changes, say, hey, show me around, show me what you've done, that's always,
I guess I skipped ahead with that one, but yeah, I mean, I would think about with my agent, with all the stuff that we've been doing to what we bought, it would be kind of cool to see like where we started and where we're at now. And yeah, that would be kind of cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, what have they done? What have they changed? And what have you helped them with, I always give a few names though for handymen or for contractors, because inevitably, this happened to me probably about a year ago. Somebody texted me and said, how well do you know this person who's your handyman? And I'm like, they've done stuff for me or for other sellers. I'm not sure I really know them. Well, I didn't like them and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, okay, well, sorry. I mean, he's always done well for me. I'm sorry you weren't happy, but here's the rest of my list that I sent you when I sent you the list in the first place,
But it's good to see the work that and seeing which one it is. So multiple names always. Well, I would never get one quote anyway. So
no,
you get a vibe with somebody, and
me neither. And then always remember that you serve them. We're in the service industry, really. It's not just about the transaction. It's about you're helping them move and choose their new home. So as long as you're always thinking about that, I mean, this is such a huge transaction for people. This is, we say this all the time, this is the most expensive thing most people will ever buy in their lifetime. It's not just like selling some makeup over the makeup counter. This is, you're hopefully in for it for a lifelong relationship with these buyers or sellers, and so you just want to make sure that they're thinking about you when it comes time, when it comes time to either list or buy for themselves or for their family members. I have a lot of people where I've sold one member of the family and now I've sold 7 members of the family, or listed, it's just, and sometimes I haven't even met those other people in the family, even though they live here. But because I'm constantly reaching out to the others that I did transactions with, when it comes time for them, they call me, which is awesome, and my thing always is that whole trust thing. I think is so important. And I did a transaction recently, and I don't know how many kids are in this family, maybe 6 kids in the family. And I think I've done transactions with 3 or 4 of them and the mother. And so this sister that I had never met called me, and I went to her house, and when we were talking about things, and I always kind of try to get a gauge on how do they feel about me? How are they, do they trust me, or do they know that I'm not trying to sell them a bag of goods, so to speak? And she said to me, whatever you think is best, we completely trust you. We know that you've done the right thing for our families. And that and that is like a huge key to building loyalty. Is the trust
All those
factor.
referrals. I mean, and I think, I mean, you could go on to buy anything on Amazon. I mean, I'm always looking at the reviews just to see that. And I mean, I think that's a big deal when you get recommended to a certain, I mean, any industry. I think if you know somebody that's actually used them and had a good experience, that trumps anything.
Yeah.
I mean, it really does. So I think that's why this whole show is just important on building that loyalty with that client, because it makes it it's so much harder to chase new business than just continue those relationships with the people that you enjoyed working with.
Yep.
I mean, it's almost a no-brainer.
And it's even interesting. I have I sold that place over on VIP Island. I'm sure a lot of people saw on Facebook as I was kind of documenting that whole thing. The house next door to the house that my people bought is owned by a friend of mine that I went to elementary school with. And the interesting part is over the years, just because of our Facebook interactions, and we've seen each other a couple of times, but not just at reunions and stuff. They were going to refi a year ago, and she messaged me, who should I use to refi? And I let her know. And then when these people were buying, I messaged her, hey, my people are, buying at VIP Island. What can you help them? What can you tell them, help them with? Things to know. She provided insurance. She provided a lender. She provided us with the name of the guy who drives the boat back and forth, so it's
like a TV show.
Right?
I think there's a show Leo watches. Well, I don't know. In the bio or whatever, I don't know, to try to find houses over there.
Right.
Cool. But I think that's where the whole social, not even changing the subject, but really it's all about that loyalty, is people are always looking for third-party syndication to run their social for them. And it's almost like a pet peeve of mine, because people hear, oh, this, so many people are doing so good on social, and it's like, but that's because they're being social. It's not because they have some third party just posting.
Right.
Right. You have to be social, and it's about creating relationships. And I feel that social has opened so many doors for me just because I'm creating relationships. And
you're real and you're authentic.
Yes. Because they get to know, and trust me. And when I meet these people in person, I feel I've known them my whole life. It doesn't oh, this is our first time meeting face to face, but we've had this ongoing relationship online. And I love going to events just to take the online offline. You can't do that if you have third party stuff just posting and you're just going about your business. So I do think social can be a pillar to your business if it's you.
Right.
Just the same thing if you have generic newsletters or postcards getting sent out versus a handwritten note. Huge difference.
Yep. Agree. So back to the handwritten note. Handwritten notes, and I get away from that, but I will say this, and I don't always send holiday cards, but this is a pet peeve of mine. I don't want the holiday card, and if any of my family members are watching, I'm sorry, with your kids, Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays or Happy Hanukkah, whatever it says, love, the Ramages, Kerry, Ian, and Gavin, and nothing written. I don't want that.
I like my annual photos. I
like the photo, but I want something handwritten in that thing.
I can do handwritten, but what I used to do is basically a newsletter that had photos of every kid, all of us, including me, Leo, the kids, and what our accomplishments or what the big highlights of the year were. So it was almost like the holiday news for the entire year and just highlights,
Well, yeah, my sister does that, which is cool, but my sister always writes a note at the bottom. Just a little.
The handwritten, it was all, the graphic stuff,
I just like a little something, just a little. Even if it's just love the Ramages with your pen, handwriting. I don't know. But anyway, that's just back to
It looks like that now.
that's just back to the handwritten note. I mean, that there's still a personal connection with
I
it.
would handwrite the envelopes.
Okay, that's okay.
I mean, I think that's a huge deal. As much as that may suck, I think that's a big deal.
Well, I will say that's why I don't send cards out every year, because it's too much work.
It is a lot. I mean, if my kids had good handwriting,
yeah,
could do that.
Okay, so the weekly activity for this week.
Yes.
What'd you say?
I was saying, what's our weekly activity?
Weekly activity. Intentionally fill your mind with good information and positive influence and thoughts through the week. That's huge. You've said, you don't listen to the news anymore. I do a little bit, not too much.
Oh, I tried to turn it on just because I was watching, this show like on Netflix or Hulu or one of those, and I can't go to sleep, and I'm like, oh my God, it's 2:00 in the morning. Like, I have to go to sleep. And I was like, I'll just put on the news and it'll put me right to sleep. And oh my God, I'm so mad. I'm like, okay, I got to find something else that'll just put me to sleep, because I knew I had to stop, so I did put it on regular TV, and that just almost infuriated me. I was like, yep, nope, can't go there yet.
Yeah. So good thoughts, good news, good information, positive influences.
And let's see, words of wisdom. Things turn out for the best for those that make the best of the way things turn out. So for me, we're in so much uncertainty, new territory, just in life in general. But I think that's one thing I love about real estate, is it's always changing. That was just, I thought it was boring when my grandmother was doing it and, putting the phone in the drawer and oven mitts, on holiday dinners. But I love real estate because it's always changing. Right now, life is changing. But I think that we always, I think we're always saying we just have to adjust the sails a little bit. And you always are growing in this field industry. So that was my take from.
Yeah, whatever happens, just make the best of it, and how you put that positive spin on it will make everything better. We go through a lot of roller coasters in real estate, and and if you put a positive spin on it rather than an aggressive or a negative or whatever, it's just not going to turn out good.
Right.
For sure.
No, I agree. I think we just have to make the best of every situation and find the positives and what can we do. And that may be harder at sometimes than others, but I think if we keep our mind filled with positivity, adjust the sails as we need, we'll do good. We'll do fine. And of course, we're here to help if you need ideas on what to do, but I think we're trying to give those ideas to you. So.
Except for when I send an email that doesn't have an attachment. So sorry about that, everyone.
Now you know who's paying attention.
Well, that's what I was going to send back like an email that said, now I know who's paying attention. Only those are getting it. But anyway.
All right. So next week we'll have to come up with another idea, and then we're working on some fun stuff for, I believe, October.
Yep.
So we're working on some fun stuff. So stay tuned, and until next week, wake up, kick ass, and repeat.
Bye, everyone.